Hi, welcome back to the movie trial. In the first part, we covered the controversy surrounding the film Emilia Peréz. But today, we'll suffer. Because now, we're gonna see what the fuss is all about. People have been hating on this film endlessly, and a lot of new information has been brought to the table. Like the fact that the songs were made by AI, which makes sense, and you get to see it in a minute. Also, a movie made by Mexican people in response to Emilia Peréz has also been released, and from what I've seen so far, it looks brilliant. Let's get through this quickly, shall we? This movie is 2 hours long.
Is your family accepting of your LGBTQ lifestyle?
You may notice that the framing changed slightly is because I had to set the camera up again. Basically, I was debating whether or not I was going to record this part in video or just audio and put images of the film for you to see, but I decided that it would be better to have some image, more of me, because I am a narcissist. So let's get through this presentation one. The plot. Basically, it is a story about a drug lord named Manitas who contributed to the disappearance of Mexican people, real people. She hires Rita, a lawyer whose life is far from fulfilling, as her company keeps making her work in cases for laundering money, and her solitude takes away from her hopes of a better life. Her mission is to help Manitas fake her own death so that she can finally transition and live her life as her true self. But when she reappears as Emilia Peréz, she starts a redemption arc, helping find the people who disappeared, bringing and make up justice to the very real people who still live with that violence. Okay, let me tell this story the right way. At the beginning of the movie, we follow Rita as she receives a murder case and has to prepare a defense for a man who is being accused of murdering his own wife. Can you guess if he's guilty or not? That's when we get our first music number. Rita is walking through the streets of Mexico, and she starts singing as she writes. Then we get to see the trial, and Rita wins the case. She's not happy about it though, because she knows that bitch was guilty. Rita goes to the bathroom and then receives a call from a man offering her the chance to be rich. He does not get into any detail, just asks her to wait by the newsstand. She's conflicted, and we get a song about that too, where she talks about wasting her talent in a job that doesn't recognize any of it, and about wasting her life essentially. As Rita tries to make a decision, she reflects on her law degree, on her poor salary, on her loneliness, randomly mentions her fat ass, and in the end, it doesn't even matter. I wish she was singing that one. Doesn't even matter. Rita's like, what do I have to lose? I deserve a better life. And she stands beside that newsstand, reading all the different headlines about murder and violence. When she gets kidnapped, she's led to a hideout in a desert area and gets into the back of a cargo truck, I think. It's all dark and gloomy inside, and Rita has a cap on her head so she can't see shit. But then Manitas introduces himself and she's like, oh shit, because he is a very infamous drug lord. Manitas asks if Rita knows about his situation, and she begins to talk about how well his business is going. He takes off her cap and tells her that he wants to become a woman, and that he'll make her very rich if she agrees to help him. Rita is like, but do you want a sex change or a life change? To which Manitas responds, what's the difference? And then he flashes her. Manitas opens up his jacket to show her that he's been doing hormonal therapy for the last 2 years.
He took his shirt off and I went,
He wants her to find the best doctor in a place where no one could track him. Rita begins digging and finds a surgeon in Bangkok. She books a flight first class to go meet him, and that's when we get the sex change operation scene. And I think this is the real moment where Zoe Saldana tries doing a Mexican accent while speaking English. As the movie goes on, it kind of goes away though. I guess she just switched back to default. This scene is fucking ridiculous, by the way.
Yes, 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 yes.
Like, the nurses are twirling around with their patients in this round room that does not look like a clinic at all, and it's just a very ugly set. Then I guess she does not approve of the doctor because after a little wake-up call from Manitas, Rita is on a plane again, this time to Tel Aviv. There, the doctor asks questions about her client, but of course, Rita tells him that he wishes to remain anonymous. I guess the doctor catches on to what's happening, but why did they have to start singing? He sings about he can only fix the body and not the soul. Then Rita sings, and I quote, "Changing the body changes society. Changing society changes the soul. Changing the soul changes society. Changing society changes it all." This does feel like AI. And that is not even the worst part of the song.
Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, and everybody no one has ever been, I'll never let you down.
It's enough though for the doctor to give Manitas a chance, but he wants to meet him first. They go back to Mexico and the doctor talks to Manitas. He gives a speech about how he came to be the most violent cartel boss in order to hide his true identity, which I guess is not totally unrealistic. Trans people do often go through a process of overcompensation. If you're a trans man, then you force yourself to be really feminine to see if you fit in, and vice versa if you're a trans woman. But then again, Artyard was not intentional in this sense, I don't think. I don't think he was consciously aiming for that. I think he was aiming for that caricature. And it's very dangerous to make that association, you know, masculinity as an excuse for violence and femininity as the victim of violence. Manita says, "I've always been two, my real self, and the beast that has followed me like a shadow." It's been done before in other movies, that trope, and evidence shows that it only did harm for trans people to be associated with criminal and violent behaviors. Anyway, as they talk, Rita meets Selena Gomez's character. Dice en español que about Jessie Del Monte. Suavemente! She is Manita's wife. Jessie wants to know if Manitas is planning to get them out of the country back to the United States, but the conversation gets cut off by him. There's this sequence of Manitas playing with his children as the rest of the conversation with the doctor unfolds in the background. The doctor asks him if he has had these feelings since childhood, which Manitas confirms, but adds that it was too difficult for people like him in the world from which he came from. I think this is the only scene I like in the movie. I felt emotional while I was watching because you could really feel the desperation in Manita's words, but that's about the only good thing I have to say so far. Conversation is over and the doctor seems willing to go on with the treatment. He goes back to Tel Aviv and Manitas prepares to send his wife and children away to Switzerland, where they'll stay until they no longer remember him, with the excuse that it is for their protection. Jessie, of course, is devastated, especially when Rita tells her that it's probably an arrangement that's going to last a few years. It's all done. Rita is rich and can do whatever she wants with her life now. Manitas will soon be dead for Emilia Peréz to live. There's this scene where Jessie finds out that Manitas is dead through a Mexican television report that she's somehow watching in Switzerland.
Oh, she passed away? Oh. All right.
Selena gives the performance of her life here. Very Lose You to Love Me. Then it cuts to Emilia waking up at the hospital with her face completely covered in bandages. It's a pretty distressing scene, to be honest. She keeps coming in and out of a conscious state. One minute she can see the doctor and the nurse, the other she's watching slaps and kisses on the TV, you know. And it fades to black again, but then she wakes up a little more recovered. She looks at herself and smiles happily. Yay! Sheds tears of joy and relief. The image fades once more and now she's fully recovered. Thus, Emilia Peréz is born. 4 years later, yippee, they meet again, and now Emilia wants Rita to bring her family back to her. And that's what she does. Rita goes to Switzerland and fetches Jessie and the kids. She tells Jessie she's going to live with the rich cousin of Manita's in Mexico. And it kind of looks like they're dead in Switzerland, because it's just a bunch of white in the middle of nowhere. Anyway, they meet again and it's very awkward because Emilia obviously misses her children and greets them with a bunch of kisses and hugs. And they don't know her. She's a stranger to those kids and to Jessie. When Emilia introduces herself to Jessie, she's also very touchy and Jessie is visibly uncomfortable, which, you know, I thought was funny. Not gonna lie, it's stupid and kinda homophobic. I'm aware. I'm not proud of it. Bora sair, Pinho, sai daí.
Tá.
Sai, menino, bora, sai.
O que vocês estão fazendo aí?
Gravando. Anyway, Rita tells Emilia to tone it down a little. The day after, Jessie wakes up and she already doesn't like Emilia. I guess she feels like her dead husband managed to put her in yet another prison by making them go back to Mexico to live with her. I don't understand her character that well, to be honest, not even with the information we're provided. The next scene. She calls a man named Gustavo Brun to tell him that she only came back for him and that her pussy hurts when she thinks about him.
Hasta me duele la pinche vulva nada más de acordarme de ti.
That's what she said. And you know what? What was that? Okay, James.
So she had a lover. Rita and Emilia are drinking together at a fair, which means it's probably Sunday. And Emilia is trying to convince her to stay in Mexico. Out of nowhere, a woman appears, singing, and lifts a poster of her son who disappeared. Then Rita brings up all the terrible things Emilia's done, but she says it like the things Manitas did. Emilia's like, yeah, I got a lot of it. Then she gets the poster and leaves. Emilia goes home, it's late already, and she decides to check on her children. One of them is awake, and as she tries to get them to sleep, he's like, you smell like my papa, and then starts to sing a song listing all the things his father smelled like. The mountains, leather, sweat, a car engine. Does this woman not shower at all? Besides, hormone replacement therapy changes the way you smell. So this scene is just nonsense. And poor child, he clearly misses his father, and yet he doesn't know that he is right there next to him. It's fucked up. I don't understand why Emilia wouldn't just tell them the truth. I really don't. That's when Emilia starts her redemption arc. She goes to a penitentiary with the poster the random lady gave her to find information about her missing son. They find the remains of his body, and Emilia is able to bring resolution to the mother. And so, alongside Rita, Emilia starts the La Lucecita Foundation, dedicated to finding people's missing relatives. What follows is a very tone-deaf scene where the families are waiting to report on the disappearance of their family members, and they have to sing this terrible song made with AI. It escalates and it gets so bad by the end, where there is this Bohemian Rhapsody cheap ass shot of their faces appearing under a spotlight in a black background, and it slowly zooms out as more and more lights flicker on. The final lyrics say, to ask for forgiveness and to forgive, here we are. These people had their families torn apart by violence. They don't need to ask for forgiveness, much less to forgive anyone. If there's anyone who should be asking for forgiveness, it's Audiard himself for making this monstrosity. And I guess he did apologize, but still he's a piece of shit. We're only halfway through, by the way. Jessie gets home after spending the day with her boyfriend Gustavo. She finds Emilia in the kitchen. They start drinking, and Emilia asks about her relationship with Manitas. Jessie tells her that she loved him, but felt alone after the kids were born, and then admits that she at one point cheated on him. Emilia is not pleased, but it's not like she can say anything. Okay, there's going to be a benefit gala for the families of the disappeared, and the guests are a bunch of criminals because they're the only people Emilia knows. Rita is not pleased that their organization is being funded by dirty money. I don't know what she expected. That's when she starts to sing around the tables and scrubs a lock of blonde hair on her vagina. Yes, and that was the still I put on the TV the last time we were here. This does feel like it's written by AI. How can anyone think of a scene like that? I swear every musical number in this fucking movie just further proves to me that it could have casted anyone who was actually Mexican to play these roles, because these actors can't sing or give a good performance for songs that are really not fucking hard to sing. If the soundtrack was nearly as challenging as Defying Gravity or The Wizard and I, hell, even A Sentimental Man, I would understand the challenge of finding people who could sing these songs. Not this half-whispered bullshit that we get, and it's hard not to roll my eyes whenever one of them calls themselves Mexican. Really hard. At least is a good fucking laugh. Slay. Then we meet Epifania Flores. I'm still not sure if it's Epifania or Epifania, but I'll call her Epifania. A lady whose husband disappeared, played by Miss Adriana Paz. She goes to Emilia to see if they have found him, then finds out he's dead and is relieved. The way Emilia breaks the news is funny though, I have to admit. Anyway, Epifania laughs her ass off and then breaks down because the man was a piece of shit who used to beat her up. When he disappeared, she had peace. But when La Lucecita found him, she got so scared at the possibility of having to live with him again that she brought a knife in case she had to take matters into her own hand, like the diva she is. Emilia consoles her, and they say their goodbyes. But before Epifania leaves, she's like, "Did you really bring a knife?" And Epifania shows the knife, while Emilia pulls out this giant silver pistol. What the fuck? And they arrange to see each other again. They're gay for each other. Yay. It's cute. Until we get a song.
Medio papá, medio tía, medio rica, medio pobre. ¿Quién soy? No lo sé. Nací hace un instante. Nací de su deseo.
Adriana slays though. Everything will start to go downhill from here because Rita goes to a club and there she finds Jesse with her boyfriend. Jesse gets home, Emilia's playing with the kids, and she goes up to her room. After the kids leave for school, Emilia also goes up to talk to her. She asks Jesse to be more careful with her children. She's like, yeah, sure, I'm getting married and I'm taking the kids away from you. Emilia's pissed and gets very aggressive. She throws Jesse in the bed, pins her down and tells her, "My children will stay here." To which Jesse responds, and she's not totally wrong, "They're my children, you crazy dyke." Okay, not in those exact words, but she does call her a dyke. Anyway, Emilia's not gonna let that happen, so she gets someone to chase Gustavo, beat him up, and bribe him to leave Mexico City. And he does leave, with Jesse and the kids. Emilia tries to call Jesse, but she does not answer. So she leaves a message saying that she doesn't know why Jesse did this. Yeah, I have no clue either. What could she possibly have done to deserve this? That's when we get that wonderful scene where Emilia is on the phone talking to Rita, and Rita's at the same time talking to Jesse. And it's a perfect example of how bad their performances are, because we get the three of them doing some terrible acting at the same time.
No funciona ninguna tarjeta. Todas mis cuentas están bloqueadas. Me quiere robar a mis hijos. Y ahora mi lana.
Cálmate. Me quiere robar a mis hijos. Cálmate.
Hay que apagar el
fuego. Quiero a mis hijos.
Emilia blocked all of Jesse's bank accounts, so now she doesn't have access to any of Manita's money. Because of that, Emilia gets kidnapped, and Rita finds out with Epifania when the cops report they found her car. Rita is then sent a box with 3 severed fingers from Emilia's hand. That's lesbophobic in my opinion. Then later, she receives a call from the kidnapper and they want 30 millones to free Emilia. She also gets to talk to the one and only briefly. Rita puts together a team of 8 or 9 men led by a butch lesbian to rescue Emilia, although she's obviously supposed to deliver the money alone. They do a little choreo with the guns and off they go. We then see Emilia in captivity. Of course, Jessie and her boyfriend are the kidnappers and they want the money. As the man and the butch hide away to cover for Rita, she parks the car in front of an abandoned house. From inside, Gustavo screams for her to turn off the headlights and starts shooting when she doesn't. They start getting ready to make the exchange, but then some of the team just walk out of their hiding place like a bunch of amateurs, and of course, Gustavo spots them and shoots. As the shooting goes on, Emilia and Jessie are curled up on the floor together, and guess what? A song.
Don't act shocked.
It's a very emotion-charged scene where Emilia starts telling Jessie the story of how they met, how they started dating, essentially revealing herself at last. She says to Jessie, "Forgive me." But then Gustavo gets them both out of the house. He puts Emilia in the trunk and drives away with Jesse. She kind of goes crazy and asks him to stop the car, throwing herself at him to get hold of the steering wheel. Gustavo fights her off and Jesse grabs a gun, telling him to stop the fucking car because her husband Manitas is in the trunk. So yeah, she dead names Emilia and then they all dead themselves because the car goes off the road and into a rut, then fucking explodes. That's the end of Emilia. She dies. Not only that, she's also sainted afterwards. Yeah, she became a saint in the end. The final scene is awful, not even an accurate depiction of the Catholic faith. This girl's cute though. I'll elaborate about how terrible this was now.
Clap if you've ever wanted to kill somebody.
In this section, we will evaluate the following. Is it a story well told? How does the film look? Are the musical numbers purposeful and well performed? Essentially, is the movie any good? The answer is no. Remember when in the last video I referenced an article where they say this movie's scale was grand? Well, they were right, just forgot to add obnoxious. This movie is so pretentious and so far up its own ass that it feels like a parody of a musical. Most of the scenes are nonsensical and laughable due to a clear attempt at making interesting artistic choices that serve no purpose whatsoever. And they clearly try to make an impression. Like, why the fuck is this a musical? Did this story really have to be told this way? I swear to God, if you're not a white cis male from North America or Europe, all of the dramatic scenes in this movie would just make you laugh. You can really feel how hard the movie is trying to make you cry, and you won't, because you can't take it seriously, knowing all the stupid shit the people behind it did. While I was watching, I could feel that it wasn't made for me, not as a queer person or as a Latino. It was just the dumbest shit I've ever seen. The writing is bad. The soundtrack is trash. The sets are awful, specifically the ones used for the musical numbers. Those are the worst. I've talked about this before, but the musical numbers in the movie are really abrupt and pointless. I guess you could watch this movie for laughs. There were points where I would look at the screen and go, what the fuck am I watching? But like, I'd rather watch a bad comedy movie with my friends then. Even Nosferatu was less boring than this.
There was nobody to call.
In this section, I'm not gonna talk too much about Selena Gomez. We all know she was bad. Upon rewatching the movie to make this video, it became really clear to me that her acting in Spanish was cringy. I got tired of listening to this woman's voice, I swear to God. Mi pinche vulva duele cuando pienso en ti, Gustavo Brun. Painful. Painful to see. Zoe Saldana out of the Trinity, I guess, is the least offensive. Her Spanish and acting is better than Selena's. But don't get me wrong, there are some rough performances here. None of them can sing. All three sounded awful, and apparently they even have to use a pitch correction to reach some of those highs. Instead, I want to talk about Carla Sofia Gascon yet again, because she recently got herself into some more controversy after stating that Fernanda Torres' team was shitting on her and the movie. Essentially, she could lose her Oscar nomination, and I know that it looks like I'm laughing at the situation, but I promise I don't think it's funny. I think it's kind of tragic, actually, as it breaks one of the Academy's most severe rules. You cannot talk shit about the other people who you're competing with. She could not have done that, and she put her nomination at risk. And I think it's a shame, because although she's clearly undeserving, it would have been really good for trans representation to have a woman, a trans woman, openly trans woman, be nominated for Best Actress, I think she would have been the first one. Yet she managed to put that at risk. And Fernanda is a sweetheart. We all know that. She even tried to get us Brazilians to stop hating on her and the movie. We did play along for a little while because we are obedient pets. The gist of it is she didn't really need us or Fernanda's team to sabotage her. She did it herself. And after she said what she said, forward came the receipts. Yeah, Brazilians did some professional investigation. An incredible number of hateful tweets of her resurfaced. Not even Brazilian icon Igona was left alone.
Quem é que manda? Igona! Quem é a rainha? A Igona! Quem é que manda? A Igona! Assim, caralho!
I swear I could not believe this was real. But at the same time, they did make Emilia Peréz and managed to get a bunch of awards for it. So how can I doubt anything anymore? Variety da Silva even put together an article with all of Carla Sofia Gascon's tweets. I'll link it down in the description for you to check out, but here are some of them.
Another one, thank you. Another one, thank you. Another one, thank you.
I said it in the last video, and I'll say it again. Brazilians can be powerful allies or ruthless enemies. Well, let's go then to the jury's verdict, where at the end of the video, it was not as fun as I thought it would be. So now I'm just gonna give this movie its sentence and be done with it, because I really can't take this anymore. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do for the movies, books, and music that I actually like, but this one is going to the electric chair. Guilty as motherfucking sin. Okay, thank you so much for suffering through this with me. Tell me down below in the comments who's your favorite Golden Globes winner. There's only one right answer, okay? And most importantly, who's your favorite Golden Globes loser this year? Mine is her.